Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. Anyone else itching for spring, summer makeup? Today we are going to be talking about how we can switch up the makeup shades we use, what are the best Seint shades for spring and summer, application tips, how to get that glowy look, all the things. So if you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, thank you guys for being here. Hey friends. Okay guys, it has been a hot minute since I've done a get ready with me. I am back from Mexico. I am itching for the warm weather now. If only my state can just like stay warm. Next week is supposed to be. So I feel like I've been asked a lot lately, good shades for spring, going into summer, how we can kind of adjust the tones we're wearing in our makeup. So we're gonna do a fun spring look today. I'm gonna show you some application tips on how to get that like inner glow. At least that's what I like for spring and summer. This is my favorite time of year to be a little bit more light-handed with my face makeup and just let my skin show, have fun with like pops of color, right? So let's do this. I'm gonna start off with a lip plumper because man, guys, Mexico was rough on my face. Like you can tell, I did not have my sleep pillow that I normally have, my Omnia pillow from Sleep and Glow. So in order to keep my lashes on, I had to like sleep kind of like propped up on my hand, you know? This is what happens when you rest your hand on your face while you sleep. You break out. It is so fun. So that's gonna take a while to heal. And my lips are like still deflated and dry from too much sun. I feel like my serums at least did their job, and my sunscreen, I was avid obviously, but my hyperpigmentation did not. Sometimes the summer is when it gets worse because that is the time my hyperpigmentation is really prone to getting aggravated with heat, and so is my rosacea. Heat is my biggest thing. Not necessarily just sun, it's the heat outside. And so being in Mexico, I just was trying to keep that under control with a good antioxidant serum and loads of sunscreen. But that part was good. It's just the breakout. So I'm gonna do a really light hand of makeup and we're gonna concentrate on kind of getting that inner bronzed look. And there's a few different ways to do it. So I already have my sunscreen on. My favorite way to do it on the daily is my glow screen. You guys know it's my all-time holy grail. And golden hour is my favorite for getting that bronze. So it depends on your skin tone. They have a lot of different colors now, but it is a glowy sunscreen. So you can put it on all over. It gives that tint of color and it's gonna give that luminosity to your skin. I use it all year round, but I feel like this is the time of year where most people are looking for that look. So you can tell it adds a little bit of glow. It's nothing like too extreme, but obviously it is a preference thing. If you don't want that glow to your skin, I don't recommend this. Other things, if you don't want sunscreen, these are two new to me products that I really love. The cult favorite Glow Recipe Dewdrops is now in a bronze formula. And anything with this kind of like color and glow added, it looks really dark, but it shears out. It gives you a kind of evening of the skin, and we'll go over that a little bit more when we're applying the makeup, but it's more about evening tone, not coverage or anything like that, but it's because it adds that color, that bronze undertone can really tone those lighter points of your skin. And then, oh, I really love this one, even just to mix in my moisturizer. And this is by In Beauty. And again, it's the same kind of premise. It's got a little bit more color, I feel like. So I do mix this with the moisturizer, but you can tell they're all more or less the same premise. They add a little bit of bronze. So if you're not a self-tanner, maybe you just self-tan your body, not your face, and you want to add a little bit of warmth. These are all warmth adding products, okay? Same thing as we get into the Seint creams and what you can use. So bronzer, we're gonna do a little bit of bronzer underpainting. So if you've heard the term underpainting, it is the process of putting bronzer on your face under your foundation. You'll see this tip all the time, but the purpose of it is to add warmth and color, okay? In my opinion, the glow illuminator that I mix in gives the same effect that all of these things do. Again, if you don't want that luminosity because it does reflect light, leave out the glow illuminator. This combo has been kind of like my ride or die. I use it year round, but this is the time of year where I feel like people use it the most when they start wanting to get that warmth in their skin. So we have Bella bronzer. Bella is a bronzer. Bronzer adds warmth. It is not going to give coverage. Here's where I see a lot of kind of like confusion. When you're putting it on under your makeup, under your 3D foundation, the Bella is not gonna add coverage, but it will tone the area. So for me, for example, you can tell the darkest points of my face and how I'm much lighter around this area. So say I want to tone that area, I can pick up a little bit of Bella and add color. Do you see how all of a sudden it kind of, that contrast between the lightest point of my face, it kind of helps even the tone? That's what it does. It will even out tone, which can sometimes allow you to wear less makeup. So in the spring and summer, when you're wanting a lighter hand, it's a really great technique. It doesn't offer more coverage, and that's where I see the confusion. Most days I don't do that. I use my Mango, which is a highlight, which gives coverage. Our bronzers are very sheer. They're gonna add color and warmth, but not coverage. Okay, so that's the difference. And it can really just depend on your skin tone and the look you're going for. So I can get the same effect, and I always do use the same thing under my eyes, but instead of using Bella, because I have so many different tones and discoloration around my eyes, I don't want to sheer just tone. I need coverage, like I need help. I need the depth and some of those dark spots to kind of get blurred, right? That's the difference. I'm not gonna use Bella around my eyes. Here, even though I will go back and add coverage where I need it, I needed just kind of a little bit of that warmth, so I wasn't like super pale here compared to the rest of my face. Under the eyes, different story. I'm gonna use Mango in the same way, but I'm just gonna kind of barely tap in, and I'm going to, again, use it to tone the entire area first. So it takes away, because you can tell my under eyes are also very light point of my face. Yet this color actually gives coverage. You can tell it already looks way better, and I've just done very light hand. It's not pulling orange or anything like that. It's just toning, okay? So there's different ways you can do toners. You can tone your face using Demi. You can use Bella. You can use something warmer like Mango. I typically on the daily use Mango because I'm already gonna have to use it on the rest of my face. To me, it's just one less product in my compact. And I can then build up that coverage, and then I can go in and I can press more on those deeper points of my face. And again, build up coverage with the least amount of product possible. So it's all dependent on your face. what works for you, what you might need in other parts of your face. Like, I'm not gonna tell you to grab mango if that's, you know, if you don't need it all over. If you're not wanting more coverage, you're just wanting to even out, there's other options. So Bella, Glow, and then this one is Heat Waves. Heat Waves is the darkest bronzer we have. It's more of a red undertone. It's a little dark for me personally, but when I mix them, it gives me a little bit more depth than Bella, and I get that glow from Glow Illuminator, and I get it all. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that, but underpainting is definitely a method. You can swirl together in all of them like I do. When I'm just wanting a little bit of sheer bronzing action, that's what I do. If I want more, I will pick it up with that blush and bronzer brush, and I'll focus mainly on Bella probably. If you want that inner glow, you can just tap into both. Totally personal preference. So where do you apply bronzer? It's always the highest points of your face. So if you're doing the underpainting and you're using Bella as a base, it's the only time you'll ever see me actually like use my fingers. Why? Because any step after that, you're gonna move the product under it, okay? But if say you just wanna add a lot of bronze underneath because you're gonna be toning that down with, again, your foundation, you can totally go in with your fingers, whatever method works best for you. I tend to just pick up everything on my brush because after years of applying with a brush, it's just, I find it easier than like getting my fingers dirty and all of that. So like that lip plumper turned my face super red. I'm not gonna use Bella there. Doesn't make any sense. It's not gonna color correct redness. I have to use Mango in order to color correct this action going on. Much better. Okay, so we already hit the forehead. I'm just gonna add a little bit of warmth to the cheeks. Now, me personally, I don't need a whole lot there because I'm naturally darker there. I naturally have warmth there because I have hyperpigmentation and rosacea, but if you want to apply less bronzer at the end, this will kind of give you that inner glow. And for those of you that don't have rosacea and hyperpigmentation, go across the nose, and this entire kind of W fashion is kind of where you want that bronze. You can even go to the chin. Again, I naturally have redness there already. So that's why I like to just kind of even the skin tone by going to the points that don't naturally have as much hyperpigmentation and redness. And it gives an evening out effect. So again, I have to use way less highlight, especially for those days where I just want a very skin-like finish. And I feel like in spring and summer, that's when people like to wear less makeup, you know, when you don't want it like feel like it's melting, or sticking and tackiness just does not bode well for the summer, right? And I am a baseball, softball mom, and I got games tonight, and it's actually nice and hot today. Yay. So I'm gonna keep it real nice and light. Okay, once I have kind of my glowy Bella base down, I'm gonna go in with my highlight shades. Now, because I do need coverage and color correction on things, that doesn't mean I'm gonna skip my color corrector, because otherwise any lighter shade I put over those areas, that depth is just gonna peek through a few hours into the day. It's not gonna give me the best coverage or longevity, because again, this didn't give coverage, it just tone, right? We got a nice bronze tone to our face. So my two favorite brushes for a light hand has got to be the blend brush and the shape Demi brush. Okay, so I was actually just having a conversation with someone about this. Like, I would give anything to like flip ends and have this nice dome end instead of this end, with this nice dense end of the blend instead of this floppy end. That would be like the perfect summer application brush in my opinion, because the blend brush, very floppy. This, you can't buff into the skin. It just doesn't work. It doesn't blend well, but this nice dense end, if you can compare the two, this very floppy, again, the blend brush small end, nice and dense. This is what I use for color correcting those small areas. I love this end of this brush. But this dome end is really nice to buff because it's kind of got that rounded end and it's not this like flat kind of situation, pointedness that just, you know. So I love both of these brushes, especially if you already have the blush and bronzer. Now this one is always my go-to for beginners because again, you can use the blush end, like I just applied my bronzer with this, or you can use obviously the bronzer end. This brush works really well for a lot of different applications. I find these two ends comparable. Okay, so shape, blush, all right? But if you're looking for lighter than the blush end, if that's what you've been using, you could try the shape. Okay, so I'm gonna use this today for my color corrector. And this end of, so this is my magic combination. If only Seint could give us interchangeable brush heads, please. Yes, I'm pretty sure I've already asked for that. I would build the perfect brush. Okay, so I'm gonna use this shape. And the reason I like it is if you are like me and you need a color corrector over a large area, like your cheeks, or you have hyperpigmentation across areas that you need to lightly blur and you're wanting to use the lightest hand possible, this brush is good because you can just kind of tap in, get a little bit, and then you can still buff it over a large area and it doesn't pick up loads of product. It really distributes it well, and you can really buff, and like just when you try it, you can kind of tell. You can feel when something when you barely have to move it across the skin and it just kind of like goes on like a dream. This end is like that. So because I still need coverage, I am using this again across my rosacea, and I've got a lot of hyperpigmentation in my contour area. Just a real light hand, just to make sure that those dark points aren't going to peek out. Now, you can't see a lot of makeup or anything like that. Again, I'm trying to keep this as light-handed as possible, and the buffing motion is what keeps it light-handed. It is the brush choice and the motion of the brush. So when you're looking for a very light hand across a large area, you gotta pick up a brush that can buff small circles across the skin to move that product. So you're not touching your face with this glob of product and then trying to move it all over. Like, it picks up very little because it's not too dense, and it why can't I say that word today? Distributes it nicely across the skin. So it gives the thinnest layer. Like, look at that. Like, you can't see anything on my forehead, but I know I've matched all those darker points now. Man, something just keeps reacting. I think I might have like a little bit of contact dermatitis, and that lip plumper was a little bit too strong for that area of my face. Lesson learned, and this is why Magic Mango is always in my palette forever, because now I'm gonna switch to the denser end because I've tried this end, I don't know how many times. It's too floppy. It doesn't press. You see what happens when you press? If the brush folds in on itself, like that when you press, it makes it really hard to press. Now, that tells you the floppy ends pick up the least amount of product. So if you are heavy-handed and you don't know how to fix it, test your brushes, find a floppy one, because guess what? When you touch down into your cream, it's gonna pick up very little because it's not dense. You gotta think about it, right? So I'm switching back to the blend brush because this is stiff enough that it can press on, and it's still dense enough and it still has a great end that buffs, but I like a good brush that can both buff and press, which is why normally these two ends are what I use the most, the blush and the small end of the blend. So I'm gonna go back in and I'm adding coverage. So far I just kind of gave a really light hand across the darkest points of my face, cheeks, nose, chin, a little bit in the forehead, because rosacea tends to be in the center of the face, okay? And then a little bit over areas of hyperpigmentation. If they need to be blurred out, you want that buffing motion, okay? Then we can switch to the pressing motion. Now the key, if you're wanting the lightest hand possible, is you're not gonna be using a big brush like this and pressing on all over the face. That's gonna be more medium and even up to full coverage, okay? So that's why I like to switch down to a tiny brush so you can focus it on only where absolutely necessary, okay? These are the darkest points of your face, those areas of your face that you want to make sure are going to be covered all day, you know? Okay, so I already kind of did a light hand under this eye, but I never did it under this eye, so I'm gonna even it out. And again, I'm just barely touching. Now, the denser the brush, the more light-handed you have to be when touching your creams. And over time, you learn that pretty easily. It's a little bit of trial and error. Okay, same thing. I'm gonna go with a wash over my lid because I have a lot of veins, and again, I need coverage. So that's why I use Mango and not Bella. Okay. Going back into that redness there. Now these guys, I think they were so much darker than those light areas that the contrast is just too high. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to go back in and use a little bit of Demi there at the very end. But I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna see what it looks like because I can still see them, but I haven't fully put on everything yet. So now look at your face and be like, okay, where are there darker points? We tap, we press, okay? Not a buffing motion, just a tap, okay? Broken capillaries is where I need extra help, and those are always right here. And I've got darker points of hyperpigmentation on my nose I like to press on more. Those inner corners. Any dark spots that are still really peeking through. Okay, so there we go. So far, all I have on is Mango. That's it. And of course that Bella underneath. Now, Mango is warm, Bella is warm, so that's why overall I'm looking warm, right? So if you're one of those people that is not naturally warm like I am, you're gonna need a more neutral main shade to tone down where necessary. Now, some people might be able to get away with just brightening at this step and kind of focusing it on the center of their face just to bring in those lighter tones that are maybe in their neck. And then some people like me like to just tone it down a notch, and that's when I go down to my main. And you can either use the blend brush because, like I said, this is gonna pick up the smallest amount. So if you're wanting not more coverage, just toning down warmth, this is a great, very light-handed brush. If you're needing maybe a little bit more evening out of your skin tone and you're needing to tone down the warmth, you can go in with the shape. If you're like, nope, Sarah, I need full tone down, it's nowhere near my neck, and I still want more medium coverage, then go in with the blush. Okay, does that make sense? And then if you're like, Sarah, I don't care if it's spring or summer, I still need my full coverage year round. I rarely use this brush, but that would be the Buff. Okay, this will pick up the most product. I'm gonna go ahead and go in with the blend. I'm just going to gently tap into my main shade, which again is just a little bit more neutral. And I'm just pressing and kind of tapping on. And let me just do one side so you can see the difference. Okay, can you tell the difference in how it's just slightly toned out, a little bit more coverage in certain areas? Totally just personal preference. Now, I'm still gonna take off some of this because I haven't got to the magic step, but so I always know that I'm like, ooh, if it still feels a little heavy, I try to get it to where my skin tone looks even. So that way I know when I get to the perfector step, it's not gonna pull off too much. So if you're laying it on too heavy, there's only so much this can do. But if you look nice and even, then this is just gonna make it look a little bit more skin-like and take off that bare minimum excess. Okay, there is my skin, but better. And now is time to contour if you want to contour. I feel like a lot of times in summer, people are like, no, I'm just gonna add a little bit of bronzer. Now, if once you put on your foundation, your bronzer's not to where you want it, and you're like, oh, but I just want to bronze, then go back in. And if you're not gonna contour, just focus your bronzer so that it still adds dimension and you're just tapping it on the skin, okay? When you tap, you're not blending out too much. You can control the amount of product and you're not moving any of that coverage. Yet you can control the edge and the angle so that you can still get kind of a bronzy, but like still adding dimension to your face without needing to contour. So same thing, high points of the face. So we go to forehead. I like to just tap. Now, anywhere you don't color correct and all of that, you can totally sweep. Whoops. This is about the only part of my face I don't color correct. Anywhere else, I tap, tap, tap. Always tapping. Okay, so bronzer, no bronzer. You might be able to still see some of that shining through depending on how heavy you applied it. Now, if you have a lighter skin tone than me and you still want to add a little bit of glow, I feel like the new Nova. So in comparison, here is Glow and here is Nova. So Nova is gonna give that same, oh gosh, I shouldn't have swatched it there. Anyway, you get the point. It's gonna give that same kind of bronzy glow because it's still kind of a bronzed shade to lighter skin tones. So if you haven't tried that color, it's my new Holy Grail Illuminator shade for sure. So I bronzed it up. I'm gonna use just literally like barely tapping into Astoria, which is cool, so that I can get a little bit of shadow and it's not just gonna blend in with my bronzer. So that was way more than I anticipated. Why does it look so different in my mirror than on camera? Why? Why? Always. Okay, just kidding. I was going to barely contour, guys. Why is it always picking up too much? Probably because I just put a brand new contour in there and I forgot. It is not dried out at all. And it is very creamy still. So, as your creams dry up, you have to pounce a little bit more, especially into those contours that get dry. This is a good learning moment. How to tone down, contour, grab your highlight brush, just press, pounce. Now, if it's like the opposite and you want to like clean it up, then you can use one of those more detailed brushes and then just pull from the top of your ear to the side of your mouth and clean up or define, or even go into your lightest shade and press it along that jawline. So either way, creams are very forgiving, which is why I love them so much. Okay, I am not even going to brighten. I lied. I'm gonna brighten because I just kind of give myself a little bit of a nose contour. So I'm just gonna put it right there. And right there, that's it. And now I'm going in with this magical perfector. I prepared it before I sat down. So now it is not wet at all. It's just cold. And we're just gonna tap this. And this is, in my opinion, key for getting skin-like finish to these creams. If you're trying to get the look without using the perfector, I've been using this makeup for 7 years now and I still cannot control the amounts enough. And I feel like I'm pretty good at knowing how much to apply, and I still can't get the look with fully using 3D and not get creasing without this. I've tried it a million times, guys. This just makes it 10 times easier because it will pick up any excess. And if it's not prepared right, it won't. So I promise there's a method to my madness. Oh my gosh, like you can't fake that. Skin glow, but still got coverage. It's my favorite. I did all that work. I'm a creaser. I have way too many crinkles in my face. So as soon as I do that, I go straight in with my vanilla dust and I set my under eyes. Setting spray doesn't work for me under my eyes. I have to use vanilla dust. So I'm just gonna touch it and press that on. And I know my under eyes will not crease all day. So I'm gonna just hit anywhere that might have a little excess shine if you tend to get oily anywhere. And I get a nice generous amount on my lids. So I'm ready for eyeshadow. Okay, brows are on and let's start talking fun stuff. How to change your shades, your fun shades. I'm talking lip and cheeks, eyeshadows, lips, all the things for spring or summer. So here's what I see, right? Spring tends to bring colors that are a little bit more fresh, pale, pastel even. And then in summer, they tend to be a little bit more brighter and bolder, right? We go into fall, think of like leaves changing, they turn warm. Or if you like cool, they turn more like mauve, plum, right? And then into winter, they get deeper and darker, more reds, bronze kind of action. That's what I see as far as seasons go. So I tend to lighten up my palette when spring hits. So let me show you what I packed to vacation as far as lip and cheeks go. This was my palette. I'll be honest, I wore Tiger Lily every single day that I wore makeup as like a base of that pop of color. Now I feel like alone, Tiger Lily can be very bright and bold, and it can be very much, people say, oh, that's just a summer color. But see, look, when you don't put it on deep, it adds, like, you don't really put like a heavy swatch. It's not as fluorescent. It looks like it is, it adds pigment, okay? And it adds a lot of longevity, but adds kind of that pop. And then you can put it on heavier, you know, if you're wanting more of that boldness going into summer. So I like using a shade like that almost is like kind of a stain, like a light pop of a tone, of a certain tone. So that is literally what I wore on repeat. Very light-handed. I put it under everything. And then you can tell the rest of my shades are glosses. Like, you guys know me, I like a dewy look. If I can have a pop of pigment as a base, that means these colors I can put on very lightly just to give a glow and that tone, but I don't have to fully get my full tone from a gloss. And I think that's how I can wear it in high heat and humidity. And a lot of people are like, oh, I can't wear a gloss, it's too sticky. Well, add the tone of whatever is your fancy. We have a lot of matte shades, right? Whatever general tone you want. And then add just a touch of glow over it, if that's the look you want. Some people just like mattes. That's totally personal preference. But I added Tropicana, again, same tone, but this will add the glow that this doesn't have. La Cienega, a little bit of shimmer, same general tone, a little bit more pink. This is a little bit more corally. This is kind of a little bit more pink with that gold shimmer. Desert Sunset is a little bit more nude pink. Sadie, very neutral and nude. Summer Love, more cool and nude, but also pink. And then you guys know, Sunshine State, like gold, just gold shimmer, very little pigment. So that is like my go-tos for this season. You can tell how much I love these shades. Tiger Lily is just, it wasn't permanent last year, so it will be in my palette all spring and summer. What's left, some of these are repeated, like I have another Sunshine State, but here's what's left in the glossy category. And I feel like most in the top row are more like fall into winter. We've got Black Cherry, Love Spell, and Royal. That is what I think of as fall and winter as far as gloss goes. Now, Ruby is the exception. This is a beautiful shade for summer. If you like more of like a darker, brighter fuchsia, hot pink. If some of these shades are too light for your skin tone, Ruby is beautiful for summer. It's a little deep for me for when I think of spring. I think of more of these lighter shades, like Cindy and Pinky Promise has a little bit more, like it looks a little bit darker, but it, again, spring. So depending on if you like warm or cool, we have Candy, Pinky Promise, Carousel, and Petal. You'll notice most of these left in here are cool shades. Again, this is more like, I don't wear reds really as much in, well, I lied. If these were all permanent still, these are a lot of our limited edition shades. Like I wore these tones all summer. Those were part of our scented limited edition pop shades, like Jolene. If you have any of those, obviously, I'm just talking permanent today, but I don't tend to wear pop as much in the spring. It's a little bit bold for me. Ballerina and Ibiza are very similar. I tend to go with Ibiza on my skin tone and is very neutral. So it is very similar in my opinion to Sadie, just a little bit more pigment, not as glossy. And then Boardwalk is very similar in my opinion to Desert Sunset, less pink, more peachy. So all of these soft glosses, I feel like are all amazing choices for spring. It just depends. Do you prefer warm or cool? I think I have all of them in my palette are warm except for Summer Love, but that's one of my favorite cool shades. Okay, so then we get into the mattes. And so these are those great bases. If you don't like the glowy look, we have Pink Lemonade that's now permanent, perfect spring color. Saint Tropez, if you like a little bit more of those peachy tones, again, perfect spring color. The rest of them, I feel like all can go from spring to summer very easily. Frenchy, Madrid, Hollywood, Baby Watermelon, Pink Grapefruit. Then Dahlia is one of those that, again, will add that pop of pigment or is great for summer. And then as we move into the neutrals, deeper tones, I tend to wear most of these going into fall and winter. So those light bright shades, my very favorites are definitely always those glossy tones. But if I'm wanting them to be as true to tone as possible, I will put the closest color under it in a matte form. Okay, so I can only hold so many when I go on vacation, but like Madrid for those coral colors, Hollywood is one of my favorite pinks, and I love the new Pink Lemonade if I'm wanting more of a pop, because this color is a brighter pink than the other ones. And then Frenchie is usually my go-to if I want a very neutral peach tone. There's so many great options. You just need to ask yourself, okay, do I want more of a pink or a peach? Do I like cooler pinks? Obviously all peaches are warmer, or do you like a warmer pink? Or do you want more of those neutral categories like Sadie, Desert Sunset, Boardwalk, based on your skin tone, how dark, light or dark you are, if you want glossy or matte, or if you want both, if you want shimmer. There are so many options. So for me, I tend to do a very soft cheek, and you guys know I want some glow. So if I want more pigment under it, I will add a pop of one of those more pigmented tones. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like, because I'm pretty sure Tiger Lily is gonna be my go-to all summer. Now I'm gonna show you how nice this can be with very little. Okay, so I barely tapped in. This shade is so pigmented. I'm just gonna tap. And that's all I'm putting down for pigment. Do you see that? Just a little bit. Now I already have bronzer on. Remember that bronzer is gonna add warmth already. So if you don't like an overly warm look and you're wearing bronzer, you can go with a cool tone blush, and that's gonna kind of balance that out. I am very warm, and I feel like when I use a cool undertone blush, I need bronzer for that balance. But some people are very cool and they feel like it's just way too warm if they use any kind of warm lip and cheek. So we added Tiger Lily for a little bit of pigment. Let's pick up a shade I don't use as often. Let's try Candy, okay? So in comparison, Candy is very cool. Here's Summer Love, which is one of my favorites. Summer Love is more neutral, and Candy is a little bit more lighter and cooler. Can you tell the difference there? So, because I already have that base of warmth, I'm just gonna add a little bit of that glow, the dewy look. And again, it tones down a little bit of that warmth when you're using both a warm and cool tone together. And I feel like that combo still keeps it soft and subtle and very springy. I don't know why, but I feel like I start soft in spring and then I go bolder as summer goes on. Like I like that inner pop of color with summer, but there you go. I added my little inner pop and toned it down a little bit with a lighter, cooler tone. Okay, lined with suede. Now for my lips, you guys know I'm a dry lip girly. I'm not a fan of mattes on my lips unless I'm going for a bold color and I need a lot of staying power. I would rather just throw on a gloss and go. And so that's what I tend to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pick up, let's do Desert Sunset. And top it with Sunshine State. I feel like that color can make anything look good in spring and summer. Okay, let's do a quick rundown of a bunch of the shades I talked about. So there you go. First of all was Tiger Lily, and then we swatched it next to Candy, Summer Love. There is Desert Sunset, Boardwalk, Tropicana, La Cienega, Cindy, Pinky Promise, Sadie, and Ibiza. Probably my most recommended for most skin tones. They got that nice, glowy, dewy look. They're soft. They're not bright enough to be super bold. You can definitely like adjust some of these colors with depending on how much you're applying. Let's go from peachy to pink. We've got Saint Tropez, Frenchy, Madrid, Pink Lemonade, Hollywood, Baby Watermelon, Pink Grapefruit, and Dahlia. So these, I'd say some of them are very nice and soft and subtle for spring all by themselves. And then others really will put down a lot of pigment so that you can layer them with these glosses and keep that soft look if that's what you like. I know that's a lot, but I feel like so many of our colors are really colors that go really well into spring and summer, right? Like they just work so well. I will put in my warm and cool graphic here. So if you have no idea what's warm, what's cool, and you know what you like or tried some of our shades before and you kind of know generally what tone, it can help you compare. Real quick before I do a super simple eye look, because let's be honest, in spring and summer, if I wear eyeshadow, I'm usually wearing 2 shades. So I'm gonna just do a really quick Demi on these 2 spots because they're driving me nuts. So you can see how much darker they are than the rest of my face. Depth means you have excess blue, which means you need orange. So my ride or die is definitely 03, and the color I feel like every single person needs if they use Demi. And since I still have a little of what looks like excess red, red is rare on the face, it's usually purple. That means I need yellow orange. So I'm gonna go in with Y01, which is usually what I need for my blemishes. If you're post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, which is what happens after you get a blemish, gets really deep and dark, you're gonna need oranges. If it turns red and dark, like me, mine just turned really red, that's technically purple. That's when you're gonna need yellow orange. There you go, so much better. Demi is so magical when it comes to blemishes. It's not even funny. Okay, let's do a quick eyeshadow look. I'm gonna drop some colors in this new Storybook palette. Is that not pretty? And obviously the shade of the month is Lily. It's perfect for spring. I showed you guys how to use it last week. I'll be honest, I can't even go through all of these colors. There's so many good colors for spring. I always think lighter, brighter than your skin tone on the lid to catch light. If you like a shimmer, lots of options. So this is a 2 shade. Usually 3 shades aren't as light and bright. Obviously it will depend on your skin tone, but let me show you what I packed for Mexico. Obviously I had a lot of like eyebrow, liner, shades, smoky eye look kind of thing. I had my mid-tone mattes. I had some more colorful mid-tone mattes to kind of bring my eye up, which is my favorite. Havana, one of my favorite shades, especially for spring. Some really pretty bright colors. I was wearing a blush dress for our thing, so I'm like, okay, I had to have Soulmate, Peppa, and Tawanda, obviously. And Crush is also a favorite. And then Drift, always to brighten. So Bright Eyes is like one of my go-tos as far as year-round. Looks good thrown on the lid. But for spring and summer, I tend to go with these lighter tones. And if it needs a pop of color, I'll use something like Claire or Havana over my mid-tone matte, if that makes sense. So there's a lot. Like Venus, if you like cool shades, obviously Crush, Peppa, On Wednesday, Tawanda, like I just said. If you like those golds and you're like, I don't care, Sarah, about being all springy and looking like a floral shade of pinks and purples, I get you. Literally anything from this level will work on the lid. I love the brightening, warmer tones, even if they don't look really springy. And we get into darker tones, I tend to gravitate towards those in fall. And then a lot of people really love the blues in spring and summer as well. Especially if you have blue eyes. Bayou is absolutely gorgeous. And so you can definitely get away with those in this season as well. Totally depends on your preference. I do a lot of eyeshadow matches and a lot of you guys are like, I don't want bold colors. So I'd say those are a little bit bold. Oh my gosh, look at this. I just got lip and cheek all over my palette. This is why I can't do anything once I swatch. Okay, so I picked out 4 colors. One of them I use all the time, but I'm gonna show you how easy it is to pair these. Some people will be like, why are you pairing pink and peach? Trust me. Basic. If you don't like warm, I know I use warm tones as my mid-tone matte all the time. You can easily just do a 2-color look with any mid-tone matte, neutral, and pop a pretty lighter shimmer on the lid. This is one of my favorite shimmers for those of you that don't think you even want a shimmer. It's called On Wednesday, and do you see how it's not super shimmery? It just catches light. It is one of our only formulations, one of our only colors that really I consider like a satin. Do you see that? It's not super shimmery, so if it's a very finely milled. So if you have mature eyes like I do, it is perfection. I wish we had more like that. So I'm just gonna take basic in the crease and halo under the eye, like I always do. This is one of the most neutral shades we have. So if you don't know where to start, this is just an all year round color to have in your collection that will literally pair with anything else in your collection, no matter what kind of eyeshadow, if you have Seint or not Seint, it will work with everything. So if you missed Dream, last month's shade of the season, I recommend grabbing basic. Okay, so really make sure that if you have hooded eyes like I do, when your eyes are open, that color has been pulled up enough that you can see it. Okay, see it with our eyes open. Okay, as little or as much as you want. for definition. There you go. There's one color basic eyeshadow. And the eyeshadow brush, the only brush I recommend for your crease. Okay, if you want to stop at a 2-color look, then we're just going to take on Wednesday. Don't be scared that it looks pink. And we're just going to press it on the lid. Use your finger. If you want even less pigment, you can use the brush and just kind of sweep it to add some shimmer. But trust me, this color does not look super pink when it's on at all. Aren't scared to use one more shade. Drift would be my next choice. Now, you could totally just grab your illuminator because I totally just remembered I forgot to illuminate. I'm gonna grab that Nova and just pop it right there. So you can easily just use your finger and touch inner corner, under brow. You do not need an additional color. These illuminators are very much multitasking products. Or if you feel like you're brighten and it always fades, put your illuminator down first, then use your eyeshadow and it will stick to that cream and give you even more longevity, even more of that pop of brightness. Okay, there's technically 3 colors. Doesn't look like much. Okay, now if you have blue eyes or you like a pop of color or you're like, it's summer, I really want to look summerish, is that a word? My favorite technique for adding color without being bold is grabbing a shade like Claire, Havana, Butterscotch, Leo, Tangerine, anything a titch warm, just gotta be a little bit, and especially when you're using a cool toned eyeshadow like basic. And we're just gonna use a little bit, and this is my favorite for summer and spring, Havana, and we're just gonna pop it right above that cool tone, okay? And all it does, it's almost like taking bronzer just to that upper part of your hood, but our bronzers are cream, right? So cream on top of powder, not always the best combination. But if you take a powder and you just kind of sweep it right over that other shade, it helps blend so you don't have that harsh line where your hood shadow stopped, and it draws the eye up. It kind of frames your eye more, and you see that pop of color. There's something about the blend going from that cool to just a touch of warmth. It's not much. I don't apply this heavy in any way, shape, or form. It's like the smallest amount, and I just kind of keep my eyes open and I just put it on until I can see the color and I get a nice blend with it. Does that make sense? And then one more step, if you want a little bit more definition, I think it's because I put on really natural lashes this week because I was just like, I didn't want, but I don't know. Coming back from vacation just made me want less, right? So I'm wearing like Prisms and Original. They're not super thick, and I feel like I'm losing, like my eyes are getting lost. I feel like I need a little bit more definition along my lash line. So you could straight up line. You could use, I'm gonna go ahead and grab just this brown fly liner that I've been using, and I'm using the smallest amount just along the lash line. I'm just going to use my brow color, which is Trust, which is not super dark. I feel like it's a great color for me to use in the summer when I want like the most natural, maybe just adding a touch of definition, but I swear in person, it doesn't even look like I'm wearing liner. I feel like on camera it does. Okay, and there you go. kind of an easy way to add some spring tones to your eye look, but these colors pair with so many things that you probably wouldn't have thought to put these two colors together. But it doesn't look stark or contrasting on the eye. It looks very springy and natural and neutral. I know I think everything is neutral, but I love a good pink and brown combo. Add a little peachiness, warmth in there, and I'm sold. So there you go. There is some beautiful spring summer shades, some application tips to get a really skin-like, glowy, beautiful look for spring. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions on how to pick your perfect spring shades, just drop them in the comments below. Shoot me an email at sarah@thecontouredchemist.com, or I'd be happy to color match you. I do 3D matches, Demi matches, and also eyeshadow matches. So I will drop all of those links down in the caption below the video, as well as the pinned comment. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and being here, and I'll see you next week. Love you.